Okay, so going to the deadly shooting, obviously that you're all pretty aware of by now. In Washington D.C., you had the Afghan national that was brought into the country by Dementia Joe during the botched withdrawal from Afghanistan, and apparently this guy worked with the CIA while they were stationed there, and that's one of the reasons he was brought over in the Allies program. So the Allies program was you had all the interpreters and different Afghan nationals that work with the military to assist us on the ground at the time when we were working against the Taliban and securing the area. And if we left those people there, they would have been slaughtered by the Taliban. The Taliban already had basically kill lists, people's names. As soon as we pulled out, they started going from house to house and finding the American collaborators and putting them to death. So they didn't rescue everybody, but they did bring people over, and this asshole was one of them. And let's check out a little bit of this story and some of the updates we have.
Learning more about the Afghan national accused in that deadly attack, DHS Secretary Kristi Noem revealing new details as the investigation unfolds, including how his descent into terror could have started.
I will say we believe he was radicalized since he's been here in this country. We do believe it was through connections in his home community and state, and we're going to continue to talk to those who interacted with him, who were his family members, to talk to them. So far, we've had some participation, but anyone who has information on this needs to know that we will be coming after you.
The Associated Press also reporting a leading national refugee agency was warned multiple times the suspect was spiraling into mania and mental illness beginning in 2023, saying, quote, Ramanullah has not been functional as a person, father, or provider since March of last year. He quit his job that month, and his behavior has changed greatly. The emails described a man who was struggling to assimilate, unable to hold a steady job, or commit to his English courses while he alternated between periods of dark isolation and reckless travel. Joining us now is retired Lieutenant Colonel Alex Pelbeth. Lieutenant Colonel, thank you so much for joining us. You have a very interesting perspective on all of this because
has anyone noticed that all of these people that end up being the shooters, that end up trying to do this, they're all on the radar, and the FBI doesn't seem to do anything about it. So the CIA is aware of this guy. They worked with him while they were in Afghanistan. No comment from them. The FBI, well, he was on the radar, and we got reports that he was spiraling, and we should be concerned about this person, but did nothing and let him murder two people on the streets of D.C., two National Guard members. Isn't it odd that all of them were on the radar, but they don't? What's the fucking point of having a radar?
Flew the last American plane out of Afghanistan following our withdrawal. So you served in the country and then witnessed the chaos that unfolded leading up to that last flight out. What do you make of where we are right now after the death of a National Guards member, another one fighting for their life, and renewed focus on our national security?
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on the show again. Great to be back here. Unfortunate circumstances for sure. First and foremost, just continue prayers for those families, for the families of the two National Guardsmen. What a challenging situation, so frustrating that we're still dealing with the fallout from Afghanistan today. I think we're still dealing with a result of, unfortunately, Biden's failed policy. We saw during the evacuation, we brought out 124,000 people in that evacuation in just 17 days. And so it's very difficult for those of us who are there to really imagine that there could have been any proper vetting back then at all. And to see that it is continuing right now, 4 years later, is really frustrating.
What kind of vetting did you see when you were on the ground there?
None. Okay, none. Here's what we saw. We're filling up our C-17s with hundreds of people. Every flight had hundreds of people on it, and yeah, I'm looking in the faces of a lot of really young families, a lot of little kids that we brought out, and we got so efficient. I mean, great job by the United States military to be able to conduct what became the largest airlift evacuation in history. especially given the circumstances with which the Biden administration forced us to operate. But we bring all these people out, and then within 30 days, they're in the United States of America, there is almost no vetting that was actually done at the time. And what's unfortunate is that we know we brought out some good people as well, right? We brought out people who helped America. And because there was no vetting, or because the policy by the Biden administration was just so lax, this open border policy that is just so incredibly lax, even the good people we brought out are now suffering for this. Look, we've been backed into a corner. We're not doing this because we want.
Okay, so let's get a little more context here. The Afghan national accused of shooting 2 National Guard troops in Washington, D.C. last week, believed to have been radicalized. After arriving in the U.S., Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem said during an appearance on NBC's Meet the Press Sunday, November 30th. Noem echoed President Donald Trump's public vow to carry out mass deportations of migrants who came from the third world countries following the shooting, which resulted in one victim's death and the other being in critical condition, and said the asylum process would reopen. For fuck's sake. Which resulted and said the asylum process would be open after officials clear up the backlog of cases. I will say we believe he was radicalized since he's been here in this country, Noem said. We do believe it was through connections in his home community and state, and we're going to continue to talk to those who interacted with him. But radicalized here? Shouldn't he have been radicalized back there? So far, we've had some participation, she added. We'll never allow this to continue to happen in our country. Allow individuals who came to our country that were unvetted by former President Joe Biden allowed to run free and loose. No matter the migrants with pending asylum claims could also face potential deportation. If they shouldn't be, absolutely, yes. We're going to go through every single person that had a pending asylum claim, has an asylum claim here in this country, she said. We will ensure that they deserve to still be in this country. They still have the purposes for which they claim the asylum in place. And if they're not being here being radicalized and perpetuating dangerous criminal activity against our Americans. Ramanula Lakawaka Wakahi Makahaini Ho, 29, who was initially charged with 3 counts of assault with the intent to kill while armed and criminal possession of a weapon, is now facing first-degree murder charge. U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, Jeanine Pirro, announced during an interview on Fox and Friends Friday, the 27th. What happened at the crime is unmistakable. It is a premeditated murder. There is an ambush with a gun toward people who didn't know it was coming, Pirro said. This is a case that has touched the hearts of so many Americans. To be gunned down on the streets in the nation's holiday is an outrage, and the individual who did this will pay the ultimate price. Now, you know, it is really odd that this guy left Washington State to drive all the way to Washington, D.C. to shoot 2 National Guardsmen that were on patrol. I mean, you're really going out of your way, having an illegal weapon, crossing multiple states to go and kill 2 innocent guardsmen. The thing that hit me the most from this, aside from the shooting, obviously, of these 2 poor people, was the immediate reaction of the left online and on Twitter. I mean, the most disgusting, horrible fucking people. You don't hate the Democrats enough, and you don't hate the left enough. They were going on and saying, oh, so horrible that it happened to these guys. They never should have been there. And if they hadn't been there, they wouldn't have been shot. This is Donald Trump's fault for having them be there. And basically the National Guardsmen for just being there and just existing. This is what these scumbag pieces of shit were saying online on X when this happened. So in the left's mind, any action you take in order to make people safer, it's your fault if something happens to the people that are there ensuring everyone's safety. So a police officer was shot? Oh, well, maybe if you didn't have any cops, that wouldn't have happened. Maybe if the cops weren't there, it wouldn't have happened. The National Guard patrolling and trying to keep people safe? That's your fault. They wouldn't have been shot if they weren't there and they just minded their own business and went somewhere else. This nut job would have found somebody else to hurt. He was already looking for it. He put in his plan this action. And I still don't think we fully know why he drove thousands of miles, a couple thousand miles, to go from Washington State all the way to Washington, D.C., to shoot 2 random National Guardsmen and women. So, they're already saying he was suffering from depression. He was spiraling. He wasn't integrating into the country properly, which, I mean, oh fucking well. Like, if we had left you in Afghanistan, he would have been torn apart, tortured and torn apart by the Taliban. Instead, he came here, whined and fucking cried about it, couldn't assimilate into the life where he was safe and not being killed by the Taliban, became a radicalized moron for God knows whatever reason, and decides to kill 2 innocent people. So this is on, despite what the left is telling you, this is on Dementia Joe for not, and his administration for not vetting these people properly. You heard that other serviceman in that interview say, we brought 124,000 people. There was no time in 17 hours or a couple of days, whatever it was. There was no time to properly vet any of these people. Like, oh, you worked with the CIA? Oh, okay. You were an interpreter? Okay, come on. Who knows if they were telling the truth? Who knows if they were and they were just an unreliable person aside from helping out and making some money and then escaping from Afghanistan, and who knows what you're getting after that. So the other part they're saying is that the Trump administration ended up signing off on his final paperwork to stay in the country. You make it sound like it's Trump sitting at his desk and he signed it personally. I mean, he doesn't even know who this fucking guy is until this happened. So somewhere in the governmental branch that's handling just rubber stamping all of these people is probably some underpaid lefty shit workers that are probably like, yep, stamp him, no problem, he's done, you're all set, American citizen now. You work with us in Afghanistan, so obviously you're totally cool. Like, there's obviously oversight happening there. These things are not well-run machines. So, yeah, it's a little late now, but they need to stop the entire process of letting anybody else in, and they need to scrutinize everybody else, and they need to get the full I don't know if we'll ever get that information, but they need to get the full information of what this guy's deal was. And we're all dealing with hard times. You've all got PTSD from something. That doesn't mean we arm up and go to a couple of states over or halfway across the country. In this case, more than half, from one side to the other side. To kill 2 guardsmen that are just doing their job, 2 young guardsmen. The rest of ours aren't doing that as a solution to our problems. It's fucking stupid. So what was really going on with this guy? And he was working with the CIA when he was there. So is he a Manchurian candidate for the CIA? We don't know. Like, hey, your life sucks. We'll pay off your house, or we'll make sure your family's taken care of. Just go to Washington D.C. and sow some chaos for us. You don't know. These 3-letter agencies, they cannot be trusted. Even with the new administration's people in, they can't be trusted. So I hate it when people say thoughts and prayers, but it's all I can do, I guess. My thoughts go out to those servicemen and women and their family members. I'm sorry that you had to die protecting this country, but because the radical left need to bring in every dangerous immigrant that they can find. So one more update coming in after this, so we're going to wrap it up for today.